Here's how the Airbnb business works if you're a beginner. Now, I have the blueprint here, and I'm going to be able to show you the entire blueprint from cover to cover at the end of this video because I've actually been a seven-figure host for almost a decade now, and I can tell you, Airbnb isn't the same as how it once was a decade ago. So, here's actually how it works from start to finish. So the first thing, there are multiple ways to do Airbnb. You can do an Airbnb with a home that you own, or you can actually rent someone's house and get them to agree to let you Airbnb their property for them. I have both, so I'll show you exactly how it works on both sides. I'll start with the second because that's actually way more popular to get into. So the second is called rental arbitrage. What it means is that you get a property that someone else owns, you're going to convince them, you're going to say, hey, I will take over your property, I will put people in there, I will pay you a fixed amount, or we can split percentages. And as we Airbnb this place, we'll both make money together. Now, I love that model because it's often cheaper, usually less than half the cost of actually buying a property. And that's actually very helpful to people who own property because they don't have to deal with tenants and they get a guaranteed check every month. I like this model because it actually works anywhere in the world, and that's what hotels have been doing forever. What you guys need to understand is that Marriott rarely owns the actual real estate that the buildings are operating in. It actually leases out those hotels so that they can put people in there. Marriott does this, and a bunch of other well-known hotel brands across the world does this. So then your model of rental arbitrage is actually what hotels do. They focus on having a brand and make sure people are actually enjoying their experience, and they pay a fixed rate to the person who actually owns the building. That's rental arbitrage. So if you want to do that model, actually help people do that. In case you want to, you can just comment and I will help you. Or you can actually just click the link in the bio and I'll help you out either way. But if that's not what you want to do, we also have over here people who own their own property. Okay, so then let's say you have some bread, you want to get your own property, and you also want to make some additional money from cash flowing through Airbnb. So Airbnb is actually a really good model to make a lot of money from real estate, even from your first deal. So traditionally, let me just explain some history. The way that rental businesses used to work is that you had to make a lot of properties to get a lot of money. You had to get a lot, right? Because the average property is maybe bringing in $500 in profit every month. That's how it typically is. So if you only had two properties, that's just $1,000. That's not enough, to write home about. That's not necessarily enough to go and buy a Porsche, for example, right? That's probably not going to retire your parents. So then if you wanted to make a lot of money from real estate, you actually probably had to go and get 20, 30, 40 of them in order to live comfortably. And that's worked for a long time. Or you could just buy a hotel, right? That works. However, what Airbnb does in recent years, in the last 15 years or so, what you've been able to do is that you'll be able to get the same property, and instead of making $500, you can make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, which is amazing. Which means all you really need, instead of going for 20 properties, you can do the same thing with 6. You can see how mind-bogglingly amazing that is. As long as everything works out, you can make a lot of money by having less properties. And as people travel, you get to rent to them and you get less depreciation on your property because instead of people staying there all day, all night, usually those people are coming in. They may be staying in the house for, of course they're going to sleep there. But during the days, what are they off doing? They're at work. They're enjoying the city. They're on vacation. They're traveling. So they're really only coming to your house to sleep, which means that for the majority of the stay, you actually experience less wear and tear on your property. If the people who started real estate in the 1970s, that's not where it started, what I'm saying. But if the people who did real estate in the 1970s had this option, oh man, just imagine if they could have more profit and less depreciation, less wear and tear on their property, they would have loved this. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Thankfully, I came in a time in real estate and around the late 2010s where this was actually exploding. So then I got in before the pandemic and I was able to see the shift from Airbnb, from this small little side hustle to a business that went public and exploded all over the world. So if you're actually interested in Airbnb, is it too late? Most people think it is. Here's why I say it isn't. If you're new to Airbnb, here's what's actually working right now. One, the hotel business has never ever gone away. It's not going anywhere and it never will. So then if your model is to find cheap places, make them really nice and then arbitrage and make profit from the difference in what you're paying to the owner, and then also what you are taking in from the customers and the clients who stay with you, then you're always going to make money. Also, if you're making money room by room, I love the rent by room strategy, that's always going to make money in any market. Because if the market crashes, people are still going to want cheap places to stay. And as the market goes up, guess what? There will always be people that need cheap places to stay, right? So then that will always make money. But then what happens if there's a pandemic? Guess what? People still need places to stay because you have travel nurses, you have people who are traveling executives. People will always need places to stay. Rooms to stay in will always be available. And I like that business model because on the other end, if you are targeting people who are only into luxury rentals, guess what happens? If times get hard, luxuries are the first things to go. And we saw that in 2020. If you're trying to start right now, I will tell you this one piece of advice. Before you make any decision, use the internet to do as much research as possible because Airbnb isn't the same as it was 10 years ago. It's not just what people think it is, a get rich quick scheme and you just go on and you make a lot of money. I have advantages because I've been in Airbnb so long. So then I can show people the ropes and I have a formula that I followed over and over and over that's allowed me to print money in almost any market. But if you don't have one of these advantages, I promise you're going to lose money. So if you actually do want to learn the way, I have another video right here that's probably going to show you some things that you didn't know before. I promise you, as someone who's been hosting and has made millions from Airbnb, I got you, and I'll always give you the right information. I'll see you in the next one.